Hi, I'm Erin Power.
And I'm Laura Rupsis.
We're certified health coaches, and this is Health Coach Radio.
This podcast is about the art, science, and business of health coaching.
We share our insider tips to help you become a better coach and entrepreneur.
And we interview expert guests to discover how they've made it in this growing field.
It's time for health coaches to make an impact.
It's time for Health Coach Radio.
Today's guest is Tim James, a high-performance health coach, the host of the Health Hero Show podcast, and leader of the Chemical-Free Body Movement, a health organization changing our world through results-driven coaching, educational resources, along with detox and nutritional supplementation. Like so many of us, Tim came to the field of health and wellness after an arduous health journey of his own. You'll hear in his own words how he went from being very unwell to becoming a passionate health promoter, to starting his own supplements line, and more. He has some incredibly strong opinions about health and wellness that were interesting to dig into. We really love getting a wide range of perspectives on this stuff. We'd love to have you screenshot your podcast player and tag us on Instagram at Health Coach Radio. By the way, the show notes for this episode and all previous episodes of the show can be found at primalhealthcoach.com/radio. We've had other guests on the show who, like Tim, transitioned into the retail product space, a really unique way to pivot and scale one's health and wellness career. A lot of folks are eager to find out how to scale bigger, how to earn more, and maybe starting a supplements line is one way to do it. Another way to do it that works nearly every time is being a really masterful coach. This is exactly what I teach our students in the Primal Health Coach Level 2 certification course. Not only will you learn and practice advanced coaching skills, but this course also satisfies the educational requirements to enable you to sit for the NBC HWC credentialing exam so you can become a board-certified health and wellness coach. Stay tuned to the end of the show where Laura will explain a little bit more about what we teach, how, and why. In the meantime, head to primalhealthcoach.com/level2 to get more information. With that sneaky little sponsorship message out of the way, let's get into today's chat with Tim James. Welcome along to the show, Tim James, the health hero. How are you?
I am doing good, Erin. Laura, thanks for having me on your show today.
Yeah, I'm really pumped. We love to start this conversation, as we always do, with just getting to learn a bit more about you. So why don't you give us your origin story? Tell us where you started, the whole trajectory, how you landed where you are now.
Well, I'll try to sum it up quickly, but I grew up on a small cattle and hay farm over in Eastern Oregon, and I was hunting and fishing a lot, so I think it fits into the primal thing a lot, right? And it was just like what we did. I grew up on the standard American diet: meat and potatoes, cake, ice cream, candy, donuts, all that stuff, and noodles. And by the age of 37, I had found myself about 38 pounds overweight. And my energy was waning, and I played baseball at a high level for 30 years. So I'd been an athlete my whole life. And I just, even at 37, I still felt like I'm an athlete, but then I was tired. Wasn't sleeping well. I had acid reflux, acid indigestion so bad I was eating Tums and Rolaids literally all day long. The doctor wanted me to go on to Prilosec, but I couldn't really pronounce it, so it sounded scary. So I just kept pounding the Tums and Rolaids. And then it got worse. I developed eczema on both of my elbows. I developed a huge patch on my knee. Doctors gave me these steroidal antibiotic type creams and stuff. And I was religiously, and I was a financial advisor at the time. So these creams were kind of oily. So I'd have to pull my pants up and, rub it in there really good and dry it off. And then like trying to get rid of this stuff, and it wouldn't go away. In the winter times, it would get worse. Obviously now I know why, because sunshine's an antidote. But and then I started bleeding rectally. So not only was I bleeding on my white shirts as a financial advisor, I couldn't buy white shirts anymore. I would go over to your house for like a barbecue or something. I'd bump up against your wall and there'd be blood, or I'd put on your couch. I was always cleaning up blood. Like I'm always bleeding on stuff.
Oh my gosh.
And my pants would have a patch of blood inside of them. And it was annoying, right? It was annoying, but then I started bleeding rectally, and this went on for 2.5 years. When I would, go number 2 when I'd poop. And on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say 1 being, not painful at all, and 10 extreme pain, just shoot me. I was probably a 6 or 7 every time I pooped. It was kind of like razor blades, and then blood would follow. And So that's why my shirt says love when you poop, because I used to, for 2.5 years, think about this every day. We'd have to poop a couple times a day.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, it was like
Yeah.
going to the guillotine. Right.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, like a guy, I just had my head buried in the sand. I hope that goes away. And I'd go back to my, making the mortgage payment, raising the kids, coaching football, coaching basketball, whatever I was doing, hanging out with my friends, hunting, fishing, and spend time with my wife or whatever. And then then what happened, it got worse. I finally derailed on a trip down in northern Peru. I had an attack, and I was doubled over. Luckily my wife's at the time's dad was a medical doctor. He ran a big clinic down in Lima, Peru. I missed the plane by 30 minutes. There was only one plane going in and out of this place. I think it was called Tumbes. It was just south of Ecuador, very high northern Peru. And I had to take a bus or a van, 6 hours drive in the middle of the night. And every bump I felt, believe me. And then they doped me up in this third world hospital with, bugs flying around me in the examination room. And I'm thinking, wow, I paid into health insurance my whole life and I don't get to use it now. This sucks. Then I got on a plane flight, landed, went right into surgery, and I destroyed my trip that we planned out for a year, but not just for me, for everybody else. And that's when I learned that my poor health didn't affect just me. It affected everybody else around me, especially the ones that I loved and cared for most. So I put a lot of strain and struggle on them. And I'm sure they didn't want to leave paradise. I never been to a beach like that before, where you've got big, huge seashells all over the place that look like they should be in a museum. Like, it was like they were awesome. So I came back, and what ended up happening was a good friend of mine on my baseball team, Kalei Mahoy, at age 40, got cancer and went through chemo and surgery and that kind of stuff. And he died 80 pounds under his weight on hospice, and I didn't even recognize him. So now I'd lost my grandma to brain cancer, totally horrible, traumatic, what she went through. My aunt to skin cancer. It was terrible watching her go through that. My mom and dad helped take care of her, but they were older. Now this was somebody like my age. And it happened. And then a few years later, one of my best friends, Charles, got diagnosed with chronic lymphocytic leukemia, which is supposedly this incurable blood cancer. And now I'm thinking, I'm going to lose another friend. And he's like, hey, man, I'm going to go to this place called the Hippocrates Health Institute in West Palm Beach, Florida. It's kind of a natural healing detox center. They put you on a bunch of fresh water, green juices, and fresh living foods. And then they teach you a lot of other stuff, too, about how to love yourself and get your attitude right. And we went. I said, sure, man, I'll go with you. And I had no idea what I was getting into, because it was completely like a plant-based type thing. And I was like the biggest meat eater ever. And what happened was we went down there, and on day one, my acid reflux was gone. It was just gone. And see, what I did is I changed my environment. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then on day 3, there was like no eating at all. It was a fasting day, a liquid nourishment day. So now I'm really freaked out, because they take away my steak and my dairy and all this other stuff. And now I can't even eat. This is crazy. But it worked. And that day they taught a class called Internal Awareness. And this doctor came out who was very fit. He was full of muscles. In fact, he was a bodybuilder, and so was his wife. He was 50. He looked like he was 40. And he started talking about internal awareness and what happens from a food from the time you chew it and all the way through the digestive tract until it exits the body. He explained every little nuance, and he explained the toxins and the chemicals and all the processed foods and the irradiated foods and everything we're exposed to, and how what ends up happening is that our digestive tract, lined with these very small microscopic hair-like structures called villi, they get plugged up, they get gummed up. And in the small intestine, it's called a mucoid plaque. It's this brown, black, viscous stuff, and you can't see it. And it's the body's own response to protect you from these harmful stuff going into the intestinal lining, into the bloodstream. But it ends up breaking down over time, and then you get what's called leaky gut, and then you get these little microscopic holes, and then undigested food particles and microbes and stuff goes in there, and then that's where the inflammation begins systemically or internally in your bloodstream, that could lead to headaches and Graves' disease and Hashimoto's and cancer and fibromyalgia and all these other things. So I'm just like, wow, this is really good information. And then he started showing us photos and videos of colonoscopes going in somebody's butt and looking around in their colon. And then it was like 24-year-old female with colitis and MS. And you'd see this nasty yellow stuff and green stuff. And then they go to a 45-year-old male with prostate cancer and Crohn's. And you'd see green stuff. And then, 64-year-old woman with parasites, and there's worms crawling around in her. And he's like trying to sell us on a colon hydrotherapy, right? Mm-hmm. So are you guys familiar with that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Why don't you explain to the audience though?
Yeah, it's really simple. Like, believe me, I'm like, I changed, I was, the only reason I was there was to support my friend. And then he starts talking about this colon hydrotherapy or colonic. Basically what you do is you sit on a tube rectally and water goes in and out of you gently for an hour and it cleans your colon. Well, that sounds all nice and dandy, but I elbowed my buddy Charles and I said, hey dude, I came here to help you, but I am not doing that. But when that doctor got done showing those videos and stuff, I was the first one signing up. So, and he looked at me and he said, Tim, you got 10 pounds of crap in a 5-pound bag. And if you ever want to be healthy, truly healthy, and have that young, vibrant energy that you had when you were younger and look good and feel good, you've got to clean that stuff out. And he was talking to the whole class, but he pointed at me for some reason. And I'm like, I'm signing up. I'm getting that stuff out. So the next day I went in, they weighed me. I did the colon hydrotherapy deal. They weighed me again. I dropped 10 pounds of impacted fecal material and that was lining my colon in 1 hour session. And the record at that place was like one lady dropped 27 pounds in 1 hour.
Wow.
They've been at it for like 65 years now. So, yeah, a lot of us are carrying this around, but we can't see it. That's the problem. It's like, even if you're an OCD person, and you keep the kitchen really clean, most likely I can put my finger across the top of your refrigerator and there's dust up there because it's out of sight, out of mind. Now we take really good care of our hair, our face, our makeup, or make our clothes right. We're looking really good, but what are we doing on the inside? That's what I learned. And so my main focus leaving that place, because I felt freaking amazing. I dropped 11 pounds in a week. My acid reflux was gone. My poops were coming out amazing. There was no more pain. And I'm like, I don't care what any doctor or anybody says. I'm like, this stuff works. And I looked at Charles and I said, do you feel as good as I do? And he's like, yeah. I said, dude, I feel like I'm 19 again. I literally, my arms are tingling with energy. I want to go do things. I'm all excited. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm going to give up all meat except for bacon. And I'm going to do mostly plants with you. And we came back home and we just started growing sprouts and juicing, and that led into people coming over and me telling the story, and it led into classes. And before too long, we had served over 5,000 people and did these detox and educational classes and made juices for them and showed them how to make raw living food dinners. And then we started our company chemicalfreebody.com and started, because sprouts, I was going to deliver sprouts to the world, but the problem is they go bad in like 3 to 4 days, especially if it's hot. So we just bottled up all that nutrition and made it the best we could. So that's kind of my story. Here I am, and I'm just a regular guy that's on a mission and I healed myself of all my stuff. Like, everything's gone. I lost all the weight. I've maintained it for 10 years. I'm 47 years old. I feel awesome. My 21-year-old, soon to be in March, and my 18-year-old son hardly can keep up with me physically. How many dads can say that? And 10 years ago, I was huffing and puffing behind them even when they were little kids. So our bodies have the innate capacity to heal themselves. Our cells are actually regenerative. It's all about the environment that we create internally, in our digestive tract and between our ears, and having that really good attitude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow. That is intense. And I agree with you. It's our birthright to feel amazing and epic. But we do forget. We just get into this tailspin of feeling miserable, and it's like, well, there you go. Aging or whatever it is, or this is my cross to bear.
Right.
It's so liberating when you find that solution.
Yeah. And the cool thing is when you heal yourself, you get the satisfaction of knowing that I did this, and then you become empowered, and then you become more empowered, and you're like, I don't need to rely on somebody else for anything. You become self-sufficient. You just become, the inspiration is just there, and you feel good, and you're like, your confidence goes up, and it's like, I don't even get sick anymore. Like colds and flus, I don't get them. I haven't been sick in years, and I used to get sick all the time.
I can so relate to that. I think Erin can too, but and this is such a common trajectory for health coaches in general that have whatever it was that happened in your life, your story, where you had this aha moment of, if I take the power into my own hands, I can actually fix myself. There's nothing wrong with my body. There's something wrong with my environment. I heard you say that several times. I changed my environment.
Yep.
But, when I took control of my health, and I know Erin did too, I have not been to the doctor because I'm sick in like over 10 years. Neither have my children. My two little girls are 6. They're going to be 7. They're in school. They're Petri dishes. Are you kidding? As when the kids are small, they share germs all the time. I think Sam went to the doctor once when she was a couple months old. She had an ear infection. Other than that, they have not had to go to the doctor. talking about health insurance, it's such a racket for people like us because we're paying all this money into an insurance system that we like never use ever. But the reason we own it is, for some sort of terrible event, in a car accident or whatever.
Right.
But, kind of coming back full circle here, I just want to continue to pound home the notion that I changed my environment. And this means so many things. I think a lot of it for many of our clients is having to change their physical external environment in a lot of ways, on multiple levels, but then the ability for them to really understand how they can change their internal environment as well.
Yeah.
That our bodies are like these biomechanical machines, and our environment is just data. And these machines, our bodies are just processing the data and it's responding accordingly. And it's so important. And I would love kind of your thoughts on, I guess just a trajectory for people that finally are realizing, if I don't do something myself, I don't know where I'm going to be in the next year or so. I've got to start someplace. And if we're telling them, you got to start by changing your own environment, where would you, I guess, coach people or recommend people start?
Okay. Well, the first thing I would say is that, having the awareness of what the problems are. Like, all this genetic research that's being done, billions is being spent on it. And what they do, think about this. They take a healthy cell, they put it into a petri dish, and they put it into the environment of a known carcinogen, a cancer-causing environment, right? They know the cell is going to mutate. The cell mutates, and then they study that mutation, and they're trying to find some synthetic answer to block that. And my question is like, why don't we not put that cell in the shitty environment in the first place?
Yeah.
Ooh, what a concept, right? It's just like you're going down a road and you take a right and it's down into the slums and gangs and shooting, or you go over to the left and there's utopia and there's fields, grasses, and lakes, and it's sunny. You take the wrong road, you're going to have your environment's going to dictate. Like it's not going to be as safe down there if that environment's bad and people are got guns running around and they're shooting everybody. Or over here, people are singing Kumbaya and holding hands and and having a good time, right? It just makes sense.
Yeah.
So for me, the most important thing that I want to get across today is to bring awareness to these chemical toxicity. And I'll give you guys some 4 things that we recommend people start with we call them our core 4 secrets. Number 1 is all we have to do is, like, if you guys, when you're done listening to this show today, go to your browser and your computer and just type in these 3 words: umbilical cord and chemical. Those 3 words, umbilical cord and chemical. Now, over 8 years ago, I typed this in, and I was taken back. And they'll show studies going back to 2005 where they've looked up the blood and tested the blood of the umbilical cord blood of young babies and young mothers, supposedly the healthiest of all of us. And they looked for 400 toxic chemicals. They found 250 of what they were looking for, 71% of what they were looking for. And 180 of these cause cancer in humans, and 212 cause developmental and brain disorders. And I really want to have this point hit home. Just because you can't see this stuff because it's microscopic does not mean it's not affecting your microscopic cells in your body. And the culmination of that is affecting you, right? It's the environment. If the fish is sick, you don't put the fish on the bank and start pumping chemotherapy into it. You wonder what's in the water. What's in that fish's environment.
Right.
So people have to understand there's over 100,000 toxic chemicals that are made for commercial use. 2,000 new toxic chemicals are made every year, and only 1/4% are tested. The rest are just released out onto the public, and they're everywhere. They're everywhere. Our water today, water scientists have tested water all over in 1,500 miles into the interior of pristine lakes where there's no man at all. They're finding 2 and 2.5 inch fish have both male and female organs. Why? Because of the estrogen mimicking off-gassing from microplastics. It's everywhere today. So the water has to be purified. So this leads into our core 4 secrets. What are things that people can do? What are the most actionable steps they can do with the least amount of effort that's going to produce the most results? What we found out is that less than 5% of the population is doing this. Number 1 is drinking adequate amounts of purified water. It's just that simple. Your body's mostly made of water, but less than 5% of the population is doing it. And here's the kicker. If you're on city tap water, your water also needs to be restructured. City pressure pipes, and I used to work on them as a construction guy. city water pipes are under extreme pressure. So these water molecules get clustered in bigger clusters. And it's like a bowling ball going through a chain link fence, the chain link fence being your intestinal lining. Some of it's going to get through, but most of it's going to bounce off, and you're just going to pee a lot. And I did that for over 8 years. And I was telling people, drink half your body weight in liquid ounces daily, drink half your body weight. So if you're 200 pounds, drink 100 ounces. If you're 100 pounds, drink 50 ounces. If you live in an arid climate, you're exercising, you're a triathlete, you drink a little more. But the problem is that you just pee it out a lot because the water's been manipulated by man again. So we got to get back to nature. So this is where you want your number one, you want your water to be purified, get all the toxins and the chemicals out. And then the second thing is make sure it's restructured so you can absorb it. Once I started getting that structured water, like this is my green juice with the water in it, I drank a quart of water. And the gal that told me about this, then she says, in 15 minutes, I'm going to have you drink another quart. And I drank another, and I said, I don't think I can do that. That's a lot. I drank another quart, and guess what? I could do it. It was gone. The water was completely gone. And then 15 minutes later, I did it. Another one. I was high on this water for 6 hours. Like, so for people looking for energy and you want to detox, water is the most important thing for you guys to put into your body first. So that's core secret number one. Core secret number two. Oh, and by the way, I had one lady that did this tactic. She didn't do anything else. And in 8 months, adding water to her life, she dropped 50 pounds. And there's a lot of people out there trying to lose weight. Yeah. If your cells are not hydrated, you're going to have a hard time bringing nutrition into those cells. So it works on so many levels, the lymphatic system, just everything. All right. Core secret number two, chew your food well. Less than 4% of the population is chewing their food well. My mom told me this, but I'm like, she doesn't know anything. So, I was scarfing my food down. I was at work. I would just eat. I'm like, I thought like, I just got to get it down and get back to work. Right. I got a stomach. It does the rest. Well, no, what I learned in that class, internal awareness, was that we have teeth for a reason, but more importantly, to masticate that stuff is that we have two glands in our upper mouth and four ducts in our lower mouth that secrete these enzymes, amylase and lipase. These are going to break down our starches and our fats, which is a lot of food we eat, right? Mm-hmm. So when you chew your food really well, you're preloading your food with all these digestive enzymes. Then they go down in the stomach and shake and bake and break down the fats and the starches. If you don't chew your food well, you're going to have fermentation and gut rot, and that's going to lead to destroying those intestinal villi. And that's why over 90% of us have that leaky gut syndrome at some level. But if you chew your food really, really, really well and preload those foods with those digestive enzymes, you're going to have digestion and assimilation of nutrients, and you're going to start taking care of that internal environment, those intestinal villi. If you make your life's mission to make sure that your intestinal villi are set up awesome in a great environment, like send them to the beach every day, right, with a coconut water, then you know what, they're gonna take care of you, and your outward expression, your skin's gonna look amazing, you're gonna have great energy, and all these things are gonna happen for you. All right, core secret number three. Now that you're drinking lots of purified, restructured water and you're chewing your food well, you want to avoid liquids with meals. This is less than 2% of the population is doing this. So again, massive rooms of improvement here for people. So why would you want to do that? Well, if you drink a lot of water and you're chewing your food really well, you chew your food really well, and then you go drink purified, restructured water or beer or wine or apple juice, you're now going to dilute those digestive enzymes, and you're going to go right back to fermentation and gut rot. That's the problem. We want digestion and assimilation of nutrients. And so what we recommend is for beginners, stop drinking liquids 30 minutes before you eat, and then wait an hour after you're done eating, and then drink a lot of liquids again. If you have stage 4 or something, you're an Olympic level athlete, you want to look and feel your best, stop drinking liquids an hour before you eat, and then wait 2 hours after you're done eating, and then drink a lot of liquids again. Last one we added later, core secret number 4, is to do some breath exercises, breath play, breath work, whatever you want to call it, just some deep breaths for only a minute or two prior to eating. Why? Because we live in a stressed out world today, with the financial demands, COVID, even before COVID, relationship, 74% of people don't like their career. There's so much stress on us today. Even just driving down the road in a car at 75 miles an hour is kind of a bizarre thing if you think about it for a human being. We don't, grab somebody 1,000 years from the past and put them in the car seat next to you going 75 miles down the freeway, and they'd probably have a heart attack, right? Because it's just not something humans should do. So we're under extreme amount of stress in our lives, plus the electromagnetic frequency stress from dirty electricity in the home and the paint off gassing in the house and just, all the things. And we are in fight or flight mode. Well, what does that mean? It means that the blood leaves the organ systems and it goes into the extremities, the arms, legs, hands, and feet to fight or flight, run, get the heck out of there. And you're not going to digest your food that well. So what we do is we just tell people, just take a deep breath in through your nose like this, pause, and then release out through the mouth. A nice, long, slow flow. Just let it all go. And then pause at the bottom with your lungs completely empty and hold. And then back in through the nose. Suspend the breath. And then release out through the mouth. And even after 2 breaths, if you did that, you're probably feeling already more calm. What ends up happening is the blood will race back into the organ systems. And now you can digest your food to get better. Less than 1% of the population is doing this. So when you stack those core 4 things together, I've been doing this for 10 years. I'm not perfect at it, but I'm getting better all the time. And in the beginning, I struggled. The one I struggled the most with was chewing my food. I always forgot because I eat like Garfield, right? You get the lasagna deal. But, it's just, I know it works because I've done it for 10 years. I've personally coached over 600 people. It's the foundation. And we started shipping our products last year internationally. And we have a lot of people because of the COVID delays. It could take up to a month, like in Australia or the UK, for their products to show up. And then we're getting emails and texts and stuff. And they're like, Tim, my energy's better. My gas and bloating's better. I'm feeling better. I'm sleeping better. And they don't even have the products yet because they've been practicing those core 4 secrets. Now, the water one, you might have to invest some money, but the other 3, they're totally up to you and they cost nothing.
Yeah. I have follow-up questions on all of them, actually. So tell us about the water, because I've heard of this structured water thing through like Ben Greenfield's podcast and stuff. I think actually his dad has a company that does this. But so how do you source that?
Well, I've got a gal, her name's Danusha, and I call her Water Woman. She healed herself of PTSD after childbirth with concentrated nutrition like ours, and also restructured charged water. So what you can do is there's different levels. It depends on people's budgets, Aaron, how they start. Maybe you can only afford a gravity fed water filter. Those, like a Berkey to start.
Okay.
But what we really are looking for is a purifier. And a purifier, from what I've seen, are reverse osmosis, distillation, or deionization. Now, I prefer, there's a triple purifier that I like that has a specialized reverse osmosis, and then it's got 2. I did the distillation for a while, but then I asked a question. I'm like, where does all the chemicals go when you distill it? And it's like, oh, it goes out that little vapor valve. And I'm like, this thing's in my house. I'm like pulling the toxins out of it and then putting them into my air and breathing them back in. I'm like, this is silly. And the thing was a pain in the butt to clean. So I went to this under the sink specialized reverse osmosis with the double deionizer, because anytime you use a purification system, they're only going to pull out about 90% of the toxins. That's why you got to run it through again, and the 10%'s left, pull out 90% of that, and you're at 1% left, and you pull out 90% of that, you're at 0.1. That's how you get 99.9% purified water. Then you run it through the Kangen unit, which is it's called the K8, and there's other structuring units out there. Actually, I'm in the process of ordering one right now. It's about $2,700. It's a little pipe that was developed over, I think, in like Finland, and I'm going to test that out. Right. So I'm always trying and testing. If I could find something new, then I'll share that. But right now I purify my water and then I run it through that Kangen system. And if people have questions, like if you guys had more deeper questions, you can reach out to Danusha. It's her website's www.danusha.com. It's DANOUCHA.com. It's like danouch.com. And you can.
I would have butchered that spelling wise. Thanks.
It's hard. It's Polish. It's Polish for Donna. I had a hard time. Like, believe me, like I like spelling and stuff like that, and pronouncing some of these weird words. Like when my friend got chronic lymphocytic leukemia, I'm like, it took me like 3 years to say that. Right.
Well, you nailed it. Yeah.
I could say it 5 times fast.
Okay, great. Okay, so that's cool. So that's how you purify, and then if you
restructure. Yeah, if you're on city tap water, then you have to get it restructured as well.
Yeah. Okay.
And your life will change, I promise. Yeah.
I'm on a well. I wonder what my water's like. I think I have a little bacteria in there, actually.
It's better just to purify it. And there was a story of this guy. He moved up to the side of the mountains on the Colorado Rockies, and he wanted to live off the grid and live all healthy. And he started breaking down health-wise. And after going to multiple doctors for multiple years, and they couldn't figure it out, one of the doctors was like, maybe you should check your water. He's like, nah, I live on the side of the Rockies. It's the purest water ever. They tested it, and guess what? heavy metal poisoning. Why? 200 miles away, they were doing fracking and disturbing down low. And then it brought up all these heavy metals, and the underwater aquifers, they move just like rivers, and it was coming up in the Colorado Rockies. So that's why I tell everybody, between that story and other stories I've had with clients over the years and the studies like up in these pristine lakes, you either need to get your water super tested, which is going to be expensive because you have to test for 100,000 toxic chemicals and heavy metals and radiation, or you can just, err on the side of caution and get your water purified. That's the best thing. Because once it's in place, it's one of the best investments you can make in your life. And if you restructure your water, you're going to get about 80% more absorption of the nutrients of the foods you consume. You're spending money on organic or growing your own, or the supplements that you're taking.
Cool. All right. The second thing, chew well. Like, first of all, I went to a holistic nutrition school. So this is all like the stuff I learned in nutrition school. So it's just, a lot of it I struggled with at the time. Like, I really struggled with the food combining rules. I did struggle with some of these, don't eat and drink at the same time. Don't, have protein with fruit because they digest at different rates and stuff. Anyway, but I'm starting to get on board with it now because it kind of makes sense. But going back to chew well, which I think is great advice, and because that is where digestion starts. But my question for you is, you describe that this poorly masticated, poorly digested food goes down to the colon and kind of ferments or stagnates in some way. That's what creates leaky gut. So my understanding, leaky gut is more like anti-nutrient origin of leaky gut. Well,
there's multiple reasons for leaky gut. Right. One of them is fermentation. Another one would be if you don't have the nutrients, because 85% of the nutrients have been farmed out of our soils, we don't have the cellular building blocks to maintain that intestinal lining structure, right? And then on top of it, we've got toxic chemicals going inside of us that are breaking down those intestinal walls, right? And then the big one is stress. And a lot of people, because I thought, we'll just change people's diet and do all this stuff. I thought in the beginning I was going to be just a health coach. But it's not. It's like, you guys know, it's like an emotional coaching. You got to find out the stuff in the childhood. Did dad throw you through a window? Did mom was a drug addict and her boyfriend raped you? You know what I mean? There's these crazy things that go on with people. Maybe there was a death. Maybe there was a divorce that was very struggling, and with separation of children. There's all these emotional battles on the battlefield as well. And and what have happened is I've seen people that we've helped, and they just can't quite get well. And what I've noticed is that they're in these high stress environments. Maybe they have an autistic child, or they're dealing with a 94-year-old parent that's, almost burning their house down trying to cook food. So they need 24-hour supervision. Stress will also break down the gut. So we have to look at that. We have to look at stress. We have to look at nutrient deficiencies. We have to look at toxins coming in. And we also have to look at this fermentation deal. And that's why proper food combining that you brought up is so important. And, I think the whole thing with the proper food combining is just look at how we were as human beings. We were nomadic for so long. We just walk around and find food, right? And you would come to a meadow and years ago and maybe find the ancestors of spinach or cabbage. You'd eat that one food monolithically, not mixing it with a steak from, New Hampshire and potato from Idaho and asparagus from Peru, and then top it off with some Haagen-Dazs ice cream. That's improper food combining. We would eat one food, then we'd walk for 2 or 3 days. We wouldn't eat. That's fasting, and let our digestive tract a chance to clean itself and rest. And we just don't do that anymore with breakfast, lunch, and dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner. So we're kind of like a rental car where we got the gas pedal just slammed down, and we're just overtaxing the digestive tract and overtaxing that rental car's engine all the time and not giving it a break, right? And the breaks, that's why intermittent fasting has become so powerful and out there, is because it works. But we have to be careful, because a lot of people are taking their food addictions and they're using the fasting component as like, I'll just eat like shit and then I'll fast for a couple of days and fix myself. And that's kind of a neurotic problem that's happening, and that's not healthy either. So there has to be a good balance there.
We see that with exercise too. I'll just eat like garbage and then exercise my way out of it. But the whole kind of chewing your food properly thing is so overlooked. And, my husband is the youngest of 3 boys. So he learned, I better freaking eat fast if I want seconds, or I'm going to get my fair share. And all of them just inhale. And Brad, sorry, babe, he's like the gassiest guy I know. Like the guy, he just, but if he takes the time, a couple doctors have said this to him, that just I think they actually gave him a number, chew your, whatever, 20 times or whatever before you swallow it, whatever number they gave him. And it makes a difference on how his body digests that food, and it impacts kind of bloating and gas. And it's something so simple. The other thing I think it also helps do is just make you more mindful. We talked about that, about kind of breathe and meditation. It just makes you much more mindful of the eating process and enjoying your meal and kind of what you're eating. Kind of speaking to the food combining concept too. I mean, so Rob Wolf talks a lot about sort of food novelty and the hyper palatability of food and palate fatigue. And so that if you were to eat just one food at a time, you would eat till you were kind of done with it and then move on, versus if I had the ability to take a piece of this, something that's like salty and fatty versus
that's
sweet.
Thanksgiving dinner. That's why we
Thanksgiving dinner, right? Yeah. You're absolutely
right. Then people go pass out like, oh.
That's right. You're absolutely right. So not only do these things likely have an impact on our body's ability to digest and absorb the nutrients, but it would also work very well for folks that are just trying to find ways to help overcome their own tendency to overconsume. Right? So eat foods that you enjoy, but in an environment that's going to just sort of naturally keep you from over consuming it, because you're not going from salty to sweet to umami or crunchy. And exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's a really good
tactic. When I learned that in nutrition school, like this is going back 7 or 8 years ago, first of all, I rejected it. I rejected a lot of stuff I learned in that school, to be honest. I said, this is too fussy. Now, there's no way that our ancestors worried about whether they were eating protein and fruit. But then I rethought it. It's like, well, they weren't eating protein and fruit because they just wouldn't have come across both of those things at the same time. Like it really is a modern construct. Like I had to kind of work through that sort of like mentally to realize that mixed meals are a modern construct. Whenever my clients say, I need more variety, I think I want to say, no, you don't. You need less variety, actually. But yeah.
Yeah, that's a psychological thing.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of it boils down to like, we have to realize that food is the modern day dope. Like, and we have all these emotional issues we were talking about earlier, issues from childhood, relationships, career, not feeling, inadequate. Why am I here? Finding my purpose, all this stuff. And when this stuff comes up, which it's always trying to do that because the body has an innate capacity to heal itself emotionally as well, then we use food as a dope and we push it down. It's like the old adage, like, girlfriend breaks up with her boyfriend. She's at home in her big socks and her fluffy stuff, and she's eating a pint of Haagen-Dazs watching a movie, right? And what is she doing? It's the epitome of like shoving the emotions down with that food. And that's what they learned. I taught at the Hippocrates Health Institute. Dr. Clement said, we look at all of you guys like little fragile eggs when you come here. And we take you and we throw you up in the air as high as we can, and we let you come down and crack on the concrete. And that's where the healing begins. That's why we've taken the dope away from you. We've taken away the standard American diet and put you on these raw living foods, is because it's not the foods that are so much going to change you. Yes, they will, because we've changed the environment, but it's going to allow the emotions to come up so that you can get them out. And that's why they'll have people from like Calgary, Canada, like a cowboy, literally lived up on the range cooking potatoes and steak next to a barbed wire fence with a cup of coffee and a tin cup his whole life. He gets cancer and he's on the proposition of dying, and the medical community can't help him. He'll end up at a Hippocrates type health institute. And somewhere along day 3 or 4, after he's on this lifestyle and he's had all the dope removed, he'll be getting a massage on the massage table or something, and he starts crying uncontrollably for an hour to 2 hours. And what is that? He was holding on to all that stuff, trying to be a man, trying to be tough his whole life and suppressing those emotions. And they come up and they come out. And then he's apologizing. I'm so sorry. I mean, he's so embarrassed because he just cried in front of somebody, a man or a woman that was massaging him or whatever. And they're like, it's okay. That's exactly what's supposed to happen. And then he can't understand why, when he walks out of that massage therapy class, he feels like he's floating around on a magic carpet. It's because he just released hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of pounds of emotional baggage he's been carrying around his entire life. And I can say this, that I've been through this 2 times. Once at the Hippocrates Health Institute, when I was consoling somebody else, and they started crying, and then I did too for 45 minutes to an hour. And I was releasing some emotional baggage from a child custody battle. And then another time when my little brother was killed. So I've had 2 of those episodes, wonderful episodes, where I was able to cry uncontrollably for around an hour or so. Didn't even know what hit me, but afterwards I felt amazing.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, I think I've been kind of digging into this. Well, I think you kind of have to when you're in the health coaching space, digging into this.
Mm-hmm.
I just the yin and the yang and the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system piece. We are really reluctant to allow ourselves to let go and have these moments of release, like emotional release and
Mm-hmm.
whatever spiritual release. And I think we just can't. We just can't. There's a finite capacity for taking all that stuff and keeping it in.
Mhm.
Well, actually, probably it is infinite, but not good for us if we infinitely keep it in. So I think there's
Yeah,
a
it
lot to
could
be
be
said for
causing
that.
your cancer.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely. And as health coaches, I think you're right, Tim. You know, I heard you say something at first. I thought I was just going to be a health coach, and I think there's so much more to what we do. And
Mm-hmm.
so my role at our school is as admissions director, and I get a lot of people that are asking, you know, what's the difference between a health coach and a life coach? And that sometimes I'll just ask, well, what do you think? You know, how do you envision the difference between those two things? But what I try to drive home is, as health coaches, from a standpoint of just coaching skills and strategies and the type of relationship, it's essentially the same. The difference is a health coach also has this additional training around healthy lifestyle behaviors. But at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, we're all about change, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what coaches do broadly here in health coaching. And I mean, the number of clients I've worked with that have not cried at some point is probably a lot smaller
Mm-hmm.
than the number of clients that I've worked with that have. And typically it comes along much farther in the relationship after we've been together for a couple of months. Probably they've gotten to the point where they really trust me, and we're getting into some of the deeper work of, I know what to do now. What's my problem? I know what I should be doing. Why can't I seem to do it repeatedly? And this is where we get into conversations, and we get into conversations about just their path history. You know, we talk a lot in health coaches, and we train our students to really kind of help our clients leverage their past experience for the good, whether it was a bad experience that they can learn from, right?
Mm-hmm.
What can we learn from this? Or a positive experience that we want to repeat. But a lot of times when it's, tell me about another time where you've failed, and how did that make you feel, and what did you learn from that? Well, maybe nothing. And this is kind of where this stuff comes up. But to your point, not only is it powerful from a learning point of view, but powerful from a release point of view of just letting that go and forgiving yourself, or forgiving the person that put you in that position to begin with. So there's so much about health coaching that really doesn't have a whole lot to do with actual food or fitness. Erin talks about all the time, that a lot of her coaching sessions have nothing to do with food. They have nothing to do with any of these other things, and everything to do with kind of their lifestyle and kind of where they are psychologically right now.
Yeah. I tell my clients, food's the easy part. Like for me,
Mhm.
that's like falling off a log. It's so easy. And
Right.
I can give you all the information, but what I do is we'll do an intake form. We'll get them all set up with their structure and everything. And then I hammer them the first coaching session. I go deep right out of the gate. And, I want them to cry. I want them to break down. I want them to emotionally detox, because we're not just detoxing and cleaning the gut. We're not just purifying the blood, the fat, and the muscle tissue of all these toxins we've been talking about. Well, you need to get those emotions detoxed. And we got to get that stuff out. The food, changes in the food, help assist that process. They do. They really do. So it's, there's different ways to find quote unquote enlightenment. And I found mine through changing my lifestyle and my diet. And then I realized, wow, there's something out there, more of what it is. And it took me 8 or 7 years after that before I finally started getting it, and my spiritual path took off. I knew there was something more, but I didn't know what it was. And it's huge. It's huge.
Yeah. Speaking of enlightenment, you're gonna love this segue. Speaking of enlightenment, you lost 10 pounds doing hydroponic. I just wanted to, I have a question about that. I know we're really switching gears here, but I wanted to follow up with a question about that before we kind of move on to some of your supplements and stuff.
Sure.
Because I'm super curious about it. I can really intellectualize how that would be so beneficial, and like it just makes sense that over years of time stuff would accumulate in there, but I can't wrap my head around what it does to the gut microbiome. Do you have some like, does it flush out the entire microbiome? Do you have to rebuild it from scratch? Or can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because a lot of the medical community will tell you two things. Number one, don't do it because you'll perforate the colon and you could die. And number two, don't do it because you're gonna take out all the good bacteria. And my question is like, well, what are you doing with them? How, if you've been with a doctor for a long time and you're not healed, then you got to figure it out. So number one, I did a podcast. I can't remember. I think it was episode 38 on my Health Hero show, but I had an expert. She's done over 21,000 colonics. Her name's Rebecca Harder, and she addresses the question of permeability. And so, you just don't want to go have like a colon surgery and then go in and get colon hydrotherapy 2 weeks later. That'd be stupid. Right. So that could happen, but it's very, very rare and small. And she explains all that. But to answer the bigger question, which is like, if you flush that stuff out, are you flushing out the good microbiome? Yes, you are. But the problem is like, you're so polluted. Like I had 10 pounds of garbage in there. It wasn't working. It's like, you have to get that shit cleaned out, literally. Like you have to get it out of there. So what you do afterwards, and what they teach at the Hippocrates Health Institute, is after you get your colonic, then you go over to the wheatgrass hut and you make yourself 4 to 6 ounces of fresh pressed wheatgrass juice. They have it's called the wheatgrass hut, and it's full of wheatgrass. They have wheatgrass growing like crazy. And then you go back to your room, and they teach you in that internal awareness class how to use an enema bag and how to give yourself enemas and implants. We implant 4 to 6 ounces of fresh pressed wheatgrass juice rectally, and you try to hold it for 15 minutes, and then you release it. And that's going to replace that bacteria and stuff. And what's also cool about it is when wheatgrass goes in rectally, within 2 seconds, it goes up the hepatic vein into the liver and does a liver detox, which is very, very powerful. Now, most of you doing this in the beginning might only be able to hold the wheatgrass for 10 seconds, 15 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, 8 minutes. My buddy and I, Charles, we were having records. We were like timing each other, see how long we could hold it. Right. Because there was like a 2-inch cut under the bathroom, and we could hear everything that was going on in there for the other guy. And we were like, what are we doing? This is so crazy. Like 2 guys in a room, and we're like doing enemas. But, he had cancer and he was trying to heal, and it made sense to me. So I'm doing it. So, a lot of people do coffee enemas and stuff like that, but it's really acidic. And then we're trying to change the environment to be more alkaline, everything alkaline, because, acid-based diet, a low oxygen lifestyle, low oxygen body, an acid-based body is going to breed disease, harmful organisms, viruses, bacteria, molds, yeast, fungus, parasites, mutagens, or cancers love acid, and they love low oxygen. So the cool thing is when you juice wheatgrass, what's the byproduct of grass? Well, it breathes in carbon dioxide and it breathes out oxygen. So you're literally supercharging your colon with oxygen that harmful organisms don't like, right? And you're also bringing all these nutrients in that get absorbed through the colon, and the bacteria and stuff that are in there from the soil. And that's how you recolonize it. Now, if you don't have wheatgrass, you can go out, as long as there's no spray on it like Roundup, you can use lawn grass and juice it. And because grass is grass, it's just the chlorophyll and the bacteria that we want off of that to go rectally. You can also do sprouts. You could juice sunflower sprouts. You could juice pea sprouts. You could use buckwheat lettuce. You could juice all those and implant those. Also, what you could do in a pinch is, if you didn't have access to that or a juicer, then you could we have like a probiotic spores based probiotic with prebiotics in it. And you could just put a capsule of that and 4 to 6 ounces of water and stir it up and then implant that. So it's really important to replenish that. But even if somebody couldn't, and you're having massive issues, I would say that it's even, do it anyway and get all that funk and gunk out of there. And then, and let your body naturally recolonize it. Get outside, get in the dirt, hug and kiss dogs, and go outside, and animals, bring the bacteria in, raw fermented foods, sauerkrauts, kimchi, take some probiotics. And you'd be wanting doing that anyway, but do that. And then that would be better than not doing it at all.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great.
That's a good question, Aaron.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's talk about supplements. So you have a supplements company. Tell us, and you kind of told us that you went to like raw plant-based diet, and then to a raw, is it like raw plant-based supplements? Is that all kind of?
Yeah, they're plant-based, everything. So what as a coach, I would do all this homework and trying to find good tools to put in the toolkit for myself and for my clients. Like if I wanted to, and I was out traveling, what's our first product was our green 85 juice formula. And I couldn't get to a green juice because I'm doing 2 green juices a day. Because at the Hippocrates Health Institute, they said on their Take It Home program, look, if you're not doing the green juices twice a day, you're not on the Hippocrates protocol. You're not going to get the same results. we've been doing this for 60 years. This is the institute that invented the green juice. So I was like, okay, I'm doing it. So I juiced for 5.5 years, day in and day out. But sometimes you'd travel and it was hard. So I was like, I wanted to have a really highly concentrated powder to take with me. But what ended up happening was I would find, like, because I used to do protein powders. I don't do them anymore. But I was looking at the ingredients on this one protein powder, and all of a sudden there was xanthan gum in it. I'm like, what the hell's that? And I looked it up, and it's like fermented, what was it? Mutated corn syrup fermented in bacteria. I'm like, what? I'm like, I'm not eating that crap. And it's used as an emulsifier. So when you shake something up, it doesn't settle, because God forbid you have to shake something twice, right? When you're drinking it. So that's when I had to call my clients up. I'm like, hey, look, they switched this on us. Like, they didn't say nothing. There was no press release. And then it just switched, because I'm a label reader. People have no idea. Like, I'll read a label, I'll call the company, I go through every single ingredient. And I did that for years. And because I learned I'm not putting that stuff in my body anymore, because I had problems. I think I could be dead right now if I would have kept on my same path. So I don't think there's anything more sacred than what you put in your mouth. Right. Mm-hmm. And I've learned that the FDA and all that kind of stuff is kind of corrupt a lot. And you have to take charge of your health. And that means taking charge of what enters your mouth and what enters your children's mouth. So anyway, I started my own supplement company out of frustration. After this happened multiple times, I'm like, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of doing all this work. And I needed my core set of tools in the toolkit. And I do recommend other supplement companies, because I don't do all of them right now. We're a small family-owned company. I've got about 8 products. They're massively high quality. They're all sun-dried or air-dried under 110 degrees. They're concentrated extracts, 6-to-1, 10-to-1, 20-to-1 concentrates to make up for that processing. There's no slave labor. All the enzymes are intact. And I've got a world-class formulator, Dr. Scott Treadway, who studied over in Ayurvedic medicine in Siddha, which is the southern region of India, and where they treat the whole body as a whole, mind, spirit, body, and all that stuff. And he was able to learn under 2 lineages of thousands of years of apprenticeship, and he became a master herbalist in Indian herbology. And then he became a master herbalist in Chinese herbology, and then a master herbalist in Western herbology. So the only herbology that he hasn't done is the Australian herbology, because the Aboriginals down there won't let anybody in, because they're afraid of the pharmaceutical companies raping their land of the nutrients and stuff, because they have different plants and stuff down there. So we have formulas that are, some of them are like our gut detox product it's over 1,000 years old, and it just works. So people can take 3 capsules of that morning and night for 15 days, and they can get rid of that 6 to 12 pounds of impacted fecal material and mucoid plaques, not just in the colon, but the small intestine too. And then after that, we just take 3 a day for maintenance, like I've done for almost 6 years. Dr. Treadway's been doing it himself for 37 years. I mean, he's in his 70s, guys, and his skin looks like he's 35. Wow. So I like working with people that have personal results, not just, saying something and then, they look, your body, your skin tone, your energy, your frequency, your vibrational frequency is going to speak so loudly I can't even hear what you say. So I usually look at how people look, and then after that, then I start listening.
Nice.
Awesome. So you have that. What other tools are in your toolkit, I guess?
Well, our core 4 secrets are the beginning: the water, chewing food, avoid liquids. That as far as supplements, I would like to talk. We have a lot of people. You guys are familiar with turmeric and the curcuminoids and anti-inflammatory properties. We and then a lot of people are like, "Ooh, we're going to put black pepper with it because the piperine or piperine, however you want to, because that increases absorbability through the digestive tract." Well, we saw a study where if you take the curcuminoids, and you basically make them really tiny, you can increase the absorption and the anti-inflammatory properties by 28 times. Like, it was a massive amount of anti-inflammatory. But then if you suspended it in a liquid solution after that and then took it orally, you could literally have it go through the mucous membrane in the mouth and directly into the bloodstream. And in 5 minutes, your entire body's being flooded with these anti-inflammatory or curcuminoids that are very small at that point. And you're literally reducing inflammation on a cellular level. This is huge because when cells are inflamed, they can't take nutrients in as well. And hormones can't attach to the cell well, like T3, T4 for your thyroid, or vitamin D, which is not really a vitamin, it's a hormone. It's responsible for about 5% of all your body function. So it's really important to get sunshine. And so it just fixes things, right? And I can tell you, so we ended up buying this very expensive machine, and we did that process, and it costs about 4 times more than the raw materials. But we just came out with, about a month ago, our Turmeric 100, and it's literally 185 times more anti-inflammatory and absorbable. So you squirt it in your mouth, swish it around, wait 15 to 20 seconds, and it's cool. It just disappears in your mouth. There's very less left to swallow. And if you do swallow it, it'll go through the mucous membrane in your throat. It doesn't even get to the digestive tract. So there is no black pepper needed. And we've had people on it already for back pain or whatever. And then also their blood pressure's dropping 20, 30 points, or they take it for arthritis and their headaches are going away. Because inflammation, you guys know, is the precursor to all disease. Yep. And whether it's post-workout, post-surgery, arthritis, neuropathy, heart disease, all these problems, there's inflammation. And with these particles being so small now, it actually can go through the blood-brain barrier and help with the brain too. So we're very excited about that product because now it's making all of our other products and the foods we eat more absorbable into the cell. We're literally solving the big problem. It's like a fire extinguisher for cellular inflammation.
Wow, very cool. Good stuff.
Yeah.
It's funny because we get a lot of questions from health coaches about, the use of supplements sort of in their role. And you're not the first person we've heard that have said they've been frustrated with what's on the market and trying to find something that, so I just screw it. That's why Mark started his supplement company. Same thing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to be said for that. So,
I do want to say one other thing real quick. This is the important takeaway for the supplements. It's not just the ingredients. It's the other ingredients, because those other ingredients are also ingredients. Okay. So when you look at my supplements, you're going to see on almost all of them, it'll say in red, no magnesium stearate, no silicon dioxide, no dicalcium phosphate. These are just 3 things. Like silicon dioxide is a level 3 toxin on the EPA's toxin list, yet it's okay to put in most supplements. These are what are called binders, fillers, and flow agents, right? So let's do a quick little course on how to read a supplement label. If you have a multivitamin and you look on the label and it says vitamin C, ascorbic acid, you are consuming a chemical, a synthetic chemical made in a lab. And it doesn't have all its bioflavonoids and cofactors and the full spectrum nutrients coming in. It's an isolated nutrient. It's good for profit, but it's not good for your body. Your body's going to start pulling from other places to try to piece together vitamin C in your body with that. It can be used in an emergency situations and certain things like that. So I won't get into all that, but anyway, what you want is the full spectrum. So you want something like, it should say on vitamin C, and then in parentheses behind it, from the Arceola cherry, or from the camu berry, or from the amla berry, which is my favorite because the amla berry is actually picked ripe, where the other 2 are picked not ripe. So that's what you want vitamin C. Now, that just gives you an example. And usually when people look at their stuff and they see their multivitamin, ascorbic acid, it's just a telltale sign that they're consuming chemicals, right? Now we go down. Let's say you do have one that says camu berry or whatever, and it's really good formula and it's awesome. But then you look at the other ingredients and you see magnesium stearate, but it says from a vegetable source. And you're like, oh, okay. But that could be from genetically modified corn, soy. It could be from something nasty. The gelatin capsules, you have to look at the capsules too. If it says bovine, that could literally, those disgusting capsules could be made from a diseased cow hides. That's bovine means cow, right? So we have to read these other ingredients. And these are just, they're these flow agents. So when you go to an encapsulation, let's say the 3 of us were like, we're going to start this awesome multivitamin company, and we put this wonderful formula together, and then we send it off to the manufacturer, and guess what? They put silicon dioxide in there so it'll flow through their machines faster for production. But it's now in our formula. It's an ingredient. So the way I look at it, it's like having the award-winning brownie recipe, and all of a sudden there's cat poop in it. You want to eat that? No, but I would rather eat a brownie with cat poop in it, as long as the cat was out eating mice in a field that wasn't sprayed, than I would than taking one of these awesome supplements with a great formula that's got silicon dioxide in it. To me, it makes no sense. So this is where you have to draw the line on what you're going to put in your body. Those other ingredients, those binders, fillers, and flow agents, are still ingredients. And if you're going to be taking supplements, Go read your labels. So that's the one thing that we're trying to educate. And I want to turn the tide on the whole industry and be the voice out there saying, hey, look, there are other options. Okay. You can use non-GMO rice hulls as a flow agent. And those are actually a prebiotic that'll feed your good bacteria. So why wouldn't you do that? I don't know why. I don't know why they're not doing it, but I'm going to talk about it. And my goal is to get as many supplement companies to come along, because when people start reading their freaking labels and seeing this stuff, they're going to change their buying dollars, and they're going to start supporting companies like mine that get it. And then the other companies will either switch, and that's good. We made some change there, or they don't, they can go away. Either way, I'm okay with it. But people have to have that awareness and that education first. And that's why it's like a daunting task. It's like I'm climbing a mountain every day trying to educate people, because they're like, well, this one's $33 and this one's $63. I'm taking the $33 one. Well, guess what? Your hospital bills are going to be way more expensive down the road, way more expensive. And when you can't work and you have problems and you're fatigued and you're not feeling well, you might take that supplement and feel an effect from it. And then it worked for a while, and then all of a sudden it's not working anymore. There's a reason for that. Okay. It was designed like that on purpose. And we get so caught up in the money aspect, we don't look at what true value is.
Whenever I like meet somebody or get to hear of somebody who's tackling the supplement industry, my hat goes off. It's like, that sounds so hard. That all just sounds so hard. So my hat goes off to acknowledge you for putting in that effort.
Yeah, well, it's actually for me, it's pretty simple, because I just feel like I have to do what I believe in and do what's right, and just talk about it and educate people about it. That's it. And then let the chips fall, and hopefully, we have other people. I've actually had other supplement companies that people have talked to. I've been on some of their shows. They've actually had me on to talk about this stuff. And they're like, I'm going to look into this, Tim. I just had a guy who told me, he's like, they've already retooled about half of their supplements because of the talk we've had. So I know that we can make a difference out there, because there are other companies. Like, I will recommend other products, but maybe a company's got 10 products and 2 of them I'd recommend, but I teach people why. And then I avoid the other 8, right? So go to this company to get this, and you go over here to get, like collagen. Like, I know exactly where to go to get that, and stuff like that.
Awesome. So you have a podcast. I'm just, we'll try to get to where people can start to follow you and learn a little bit more. You have a podcast, and assuming a website for this. Can you fill us in?
Yeah, the podcast is called The Health Hero Show, and that's on most of the major platforms, iTunes, all that. You can also find the podcast on our website at chemicalfreebody.com. So that's chemicalfreebody.com. And if somebody wants to try out our products, our real food products, our detox and nutritional stuff, I would recommend, because there's a lot of them, there's like 8 of them, just go to the products tab, and then on the drop-down menu, there's a button called Savings Bundles. You can get actually a discount, and then pick whatever you want. Or if you just want to get one bottle, you can go to all products and look through them. And then after that, once you pick what you want, then at checkout, you guys can put in the code HCR for Health Coach Radio and get an additional 5% discount on your product. So you can get a double discount, and we have a double your money back guarantee on all of our products. Very few people return them. And if something doesn't work out for you, because every once in a while you have somebody that's got an allergy or a product just doesn't work, we'll refund your money. And please call us, because our job is to help you. I'll take the time personally as I can, or one of my coaches will, and we will find a substitute product that works, that maybe that's the next best thing, but it doesn't have that one ingredient in it or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then we'll hook you up with that company and say, go buy it over there. These are just tools. The supplements we have are just part of the toolkit. There's so much more that we offer. I do group coaching, and we also do private one-on-one coaching. I'm really excited about the group coaching format, because we can help a lot more people, and it's way less expensive for people than private one-on-one stuff.
Big time. That's awesome. I'm sorry, I have one more follow-up question.
Go for it.
Just real quick. I always want to know how we're supposed to know if a supplement's working. Like you say, I'll give you double your money back if it's not working. What is just real quick, like what should we be noticing?
Well, you should notice more energy, more mental clarity, sleeping better. You can notice less gas and bloating happening, less pain and inflammation. It all depends on, what product you bought, right? So all of ours are tools, like our gut detox product. That one's specifically designed to get the pathway of elimination clean. That's my first goal with my clients, is get that pathway of elimination cleaned out. But the good thing about this product is it cleans out all the bad stuff, but it leaves intact the good bacteria. That was Aaron's question earlier about the colon hydrotherapy.
Right.
And as convincing as I am about colon hydrotherapy, and I can put people on, show them the videos and stuff, there's still a handful of people that are they're never going to do colon hydrotherapy. Okay. So that's where the gut detox product is. We have a toxin detox product it was 2 formulas Dr. Treadway developed for the military. We combined them. That one pulls out the heavy metals, the radiation, the man-made toxic chemicals, the glyphosates, all these types of things, right? The greens replaces the nutrition missing in the soil. The probiotics replaces the gut. The digestive enzyme mineral formula helps to digest the food and rehabilitate the digestive tract. You see, they're all just tools in the toolkit. The turmeric is for pain and inflammation, improving absorption of nutrients and hormone connection. So they're all just tools, right? And you just pick a tool.
Yep.
And it's really how you feel. It really is how you feel.
Okay, good.
Awesome.
Makes
Thanks
sense.
for that.
Yeah,
Awesome.
you're welcome.
Tim, thanks so much. This was a great conversation. I know I learned a lot. I think our audience will too. So keep fighting. So again, kudos to you. We know, there's a benefit to certain things being unregulated, but there's a lot of nonsense that happens when you've got an area like supplements that's unregulated. So
well,
thanks
there's
for shining a light
there's a
on that.
reason for that too. People forget that 85% of the supplements on the market out there are owned by pharmaceutical companies. So they're getting you on both ends.
Yeah.
And 92% of them on the market are pure chemicals. So only the 8% are whole food or food based, but then they're only a small percent of those don't have the toxic binders, fillers, and flow agents. So once you have the awareness, it's simple to find the good ones.
Good.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me on, ladies.
This podcast was brought to you by Primal Health Coach Institute. To learn more about how to become a successful health coach, get in touch with us by visiting primalhealthcoach.com/call. Or if you're already a successful health coach, practitioner, influencer, or thought leader with a thriving business and an interesting story, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us at hello@primalhealthcoach.com and let us know why we need to interview you for Health Coach Radio. Thanks for listening.
Well, if you've been listening at Health Coach Radio, you'll know that we're all about raising the voices of practicing health, fitness, and nutrition coaches, but most importantly, helping to further legitimize this exploding industry. Aaron and I have disclosed often that we're on the faculty of the Primal Health Coach Institute, founded by none other than the health and wellness legend, Mark Sisson. And we've interviewed dozens of guests from just about every different health coaching program you can think of, and who practice in just about any conceivable way you can think of. But our allegiance is to the health coaching industry in its totality, first and foremost. It's our desire to continuously and unapologetically lift and promote this industry that nudged us to create this podcast for you in the first place. It's this same yearning that encouraged us to take the educational offering at our health coaching school to the next level. We are so proud to offer the Primal Health Coach Level 2 certification course, which when combined with our primary course, the Primal Health Coach certification course, not only satisfies the educational requirements to sit for the board exam, but is specifically designed to teach advanced coaching mastery. You will work closely with a small class of peers through this 12-week, very intensive live online classroom experience to learn how to execute a coaching relationship that is truly transformational. You'll learn and practice how to ask powerful questions, what it means to hold space for your clients, but most importantly, how to actually do it. You'll learn about the craft of motivational interviewing and the nuances of habit change, goal setting, and accountability, and how to nurture your client's own inner knowing, their intuition, and their own self-efficacy, so that they will graduate from your care a truly transformed person. You want a big, successful, powerful coaching practice. And maybe you're devouring our episodes looking for the silver bullet that's going to launch your business into the upper echelons. We've said it a million times and we'll say it again. Your coaching skills are what will make or break you and set you apart for success in this field. So if you're looking to level up your coaching skills, and maybe dial up your credential and become a board-eligible health coach, look no further. You can learn more about PHCI's Level 2 program at primalhealthcoach.com/level 2. But if you would value talking to a real person about your path to being a masterful coach and perhaps a board certified coach, book some time with me personally. You can access my calendar at primalhealthcoach.com/call. Or just call me. You can reach me at 844-307-7662. Thank you for listening to Health Coach Radio, and I hope I get to talk to you soon.